Browns beat reporter Daryl Ruiter. How much responsibility does Andrew Berry bear for the Browns roster being what it is?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Andrew Berry's the one that saddled him with this. Andrew Berry traded for Jerry Jeudy. Andrew Berry didn't invest in the offensive line. Like, you can't allow just, finally, 6 years in, he drafted a class that's worth something. You can't allow that to overshadow the previous 5 years. He inherited, coming back to Cleveland, he spent a year in Philadelphia. When he came back to Cleveland, he inherited a team that was ready to win consistently. It was a nice young nucleus. Now, by the time the Browns can get in a position to win, Myles Garrett's going to be out of the prime of his career. Denzel Ward's going to be out of the prime of his career. Joel Bitonio is going to be retired. David Njoku's probably not even going to be here. The original core that was supposed to deliver this sustained success coming out of 1-31 and 4-44, that's gone. You're basically back to square one. You have a very expensive roster. You have an older roster. You have an underperforming roster. Stop me if we've not heard this movie before in regimes gone by.
So, Scott, I guess everything's in perspective. The reason you're at that is because you felt you had a Super Bowl window. You traded for Deshaun Watson, and you traded what would have been the fill-ins in the first round and second round picks that you gave up. And if you want to go back to everything that is wrong with this roster can be traced to that trade where he swung and missed.
I mean, I'd stop short of everything, but it's certainly the starting point for every discussion. Andrew Berry also traded a couple of second round picks that he had. I think one of them was for Elijah Moore. So they weren't all going to the Deshaun Watson trade. But even if they were, and that is the starting point for all this, and you can't escape it. But I don't think that excuses all the missed moves by Andrew Berry. It made it harder, but it doesn't mean you can't draft well with the picks you have. It doesn't mean you can't figure out other ways to bring in young talent or whatever it is. I just don't think he should get a pass. And it's like, well, they made that terrible trade, and then it screws them for the next 6 years. Like, I don't want to give him that kind of pass or that kind of excuse. So I agree with a lot of it. I think that is the basis for it. I agree with a lot of the stuff Daryl said. My big thing is we talked about that rookie class. I think this is a really good rookie class. Does that make up for the previous missteps in Andrew Berry's 6 years as a GM? And that's a question the Hasms are going to have to decide. But I would have a hard time saying Kevin Stefanski is the one that should take all the consequences, right, by getting fired. But Andrew Berry gets to stick around despite the record's the same for the coach and the GM. And I think Andrew Berry should bear the same responsibility as Stefanski and the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that because you haven't addressed offensive line. You haven't taken a wide receiver high in the draft, and it's a passing league. I mean, the parts you're missing on offense are the keys to a successful passing game, and you haven't addressed that.
Well, and they may or may not have figured out quarterback, right? We don't know if Shadur Sanders is the answer, and that's the biggest piece of all that. So, and there's reasons for that, and it goes back to thinking Deshaun Watson was the guy, and then not wanting to force it this year when you couldn't get Cam Ward at number one, so, trading down from 2 and not forcing a quarterback. So I get it, but you're 100% right. When you go take a step back and look at all of it, it's the receivers aren't good enough, the line's not good enough, and why didn't Andrew Berry do more to address those two areas?